Well, glad you guys are here. Rogers State on Friday. Pretty good team. Was up on Oral Roberts by 11 with 4 minutes to go, so it'll be a different challenge now. Friday, we'll probably go into our normal game time stuff on rotations. I don't know if everybody will play. I'll make that decision after practice today. So we might just go with 10, 9, could go with 8, but we'll see how that goes. But, I'm excited to get back out there and see what happens.
Coach, what's the emphasis for this matchup?
Well, I think the biggest thing is defensively. We got to work on, we corrected it on film and saw some things. So the biggest thing is just going to be our defensive intensity, trying to get stops, a little toughness, not getting in where you score, I score, tit for tat deal. So that'll be the emphasis, and then also working on our execution and trying to get better at that.
When you look back at the night and see the new guys that play, come down the ramp and the crowd and all that, is it kind of what you thought they would play like in front of a crowd like that? How do you grade that?
I knew the 3 guys that haven't played in a year that would struggle a little bit, but I knew they would be a little bit anxious and a little bit different. But I thought they did okay, but it's just one of those things where you got a lot of guys you're trying to mesh together and haven't played, and those 3 guys hadn't played in a year, and the freshmen haven't played at all. So I know the freshmen were a little overwhelmed. And
how do you coach that?
I don't think you can coach it, because that's one reason why we do the exhibition games. I mean, if you look around the country, if you look at the attendance at some of the exhibition games that we've looked at their attendance, and it's kind of staggering compared to our attendance. So we got to put our guys out there in front of that size crowd just so they get used to it.
The high-low, big guys, you like what you saw on Tuesday?
Yeah, I think we got to work on that, because I think everybody's learned how to take that corner guy and cover that. And I think that our guys have to really, really pivot and hit that weak side guy. And, we got to work on that. But, I think it's a little bit different with O in the mask. I think Tim got a little bit winded because of the first work on playing against other people in the stands. And then Devin wasn't his usual self, but he'll be okay. I think he'll be all right, and then we'll see what happens with Joe and Nick. But I am going to play Nick on Friday.
How much from Tim and Lobos can you really gauge because of the size of these opponents?
None. Not very much. It's hard. I mean, it's just you're playing unconventional size, unconventional team. This will be more of a more conventional style that we'll play during the year, so that'll be a big thing.
Coach, that execution you talked about,
right?
Does turnovers play into that as well as to take care of the basketball?
Yeah, I don't. It's one game. I mean, we've played one game, and everybody's like making a big deal about turnovers. We played one game with guys that haven't played. I mean, I said the other day, I did my homework, and there's one thing There's one thing I do know. I don't try to be an electrician. I'm not an engineer. I don't work up at Sandia. I don't work up at Los Alamos. I don't try to be a radio host. I do one thing. I know who can play point guard because I played at the highest level. Last time I checked, Magic Johnson's not living here. Gary Payton doesn't live here. Nash doesn't live here. So I do know that the only I don't think I'm an MMA expert. So, I mean, there's things that I'm not an expert at, but I do know one thing, how to play that position, who can play it, and who's going to play it. And I played that at the highest level and coached at the highest level. So the turnovers does not bother me. Now, we got a long way to go, and we got to learn and do all that. But you've had 2 players that have played here since we've had all these great point guards that have played here, Lee. And you've been here a long time, right?
Yes.
You've had 2 players out of all those guys, starting with McGee, that played. Phil Smith, Greg Brown, Gibson, Hugh Greenwood, Darius Garrett. There's only 2 that are over 2.1, 2 assists to 1 assist turnover ratio. Okay. And probably the most one that everybody talks about is Phil Smith, and he's 1.5. So, I mean, it's not like we haven't had – I mean, we've had – I mean, shoot, Steph Curry was averaging 6.5 turnovers a game in his first 3 years. And I mean, everybody has problems. I mean, Nash has had double-figure turnovers in games. I mean, Okay, we turn the ball over. It's one game. It's an exhibition game.
Could you look at it and say 30-second shot clock? You're probably going to see more turnovers. Maybe
There's
on
going to be more
average.
turnovers with our team because we're going to play up and down the floor.
Yeah.
We scored 94 points. So, I mean, the 30-second shot clock's going to cause a little bit of that. But, I mean, the biggest thing is we're going to have some turnovers, but we won by 12. We did play the Division II team. It's the first game. It's an exhibition game. Does not count.
Taking away anything from that game with the 30-second clock, that you say you kind of anticipated seeing that in the game?
Well, I just, I
Not the
think.
turnovers I'm talking about.
No, I just think that the game's going to be faster depending on, I think we can slow down teams just because we can full court press and then play zone. I think a lot of people will do that. Now, there'll be teams that come out and press and play full court, but we'll have to see. But there's going to be a lot more possessions. I mean, all you got to do is do the math. 30 seconds between 35. I mean, it adds up, especially if you shoot it in 22 or 23. Some possessions you'll shoot faster than that. So there's going to be a lot more possessions. I don't know what that number is going to be, Bob, because I'm not a math guy.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be a lot more possessions.
It just seems to me there would be more passing. Get the ball
I
to
think
the
there's
floor
going to be.
and get the
I
offense
agree with you, Bob, and I agree. But I think that taking this 5-second count out, there's going to be less passing.
Wow.
Because there's no 5-second count, so a guy can dribble it 8, 9, 10 times, and if he's closely guarded, he doesn't have to pass the ball. So by taking that out, it kind of makes it where you don't have to pass as much.
Coach, X was the first guy off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
How much has he improved his game from last season?
Well, I think what he's done, he's not taking his he's not taking bad shots. He's doing what he's capable of doing at a high level. I think that's one thing that he's learned. I think that's why he's got better. I think his percentages have improved in practice. I think that he's matured, but he just does all the other things: hustle plays, rebounding, block shots, runs the floor, knows all the plays, keeps them together. But he's not gonna. I hope he is. It'll be a credit to him if he becomes a great shooter. But he's improved his shooting. I just don't think he's a great shooter yet.
Is there much to read into Elijah not taking a shot in the first half and kind of having a great stat line in the second half? Just a
I have no idea.
There wasn't anything said at halftime.
Mm-mm. No, it wasn't like I came in and said I'm going to get you 12 shots in the second half. He didn't play near as much as he did in the second half, and I don't know what the stat line is, but I just think he didn't get any opportunities. I think he's feeling it out. I mean, the guy hadn't played, for a year, so it's a little bit different.
Did you happen to see the comments made by Ralph Turner on Yahoo Sports?
I heard about him, but that's his opinion, and he's a college coach, and I'm just worried about my team. I'm not worried about what other people say about my team. I mean, I'm not going to go worry about what other people will say.
Okay, without specifically his quote, then the one player he was critical of says he's a year down the road from being able to compete at this level with Zobach. Is that something you would agree with or disagree with?
Disagree.
When you look at just the offense, the expectations, everyone, turnovers, but just simply guys going out there needing live reps to execute. How do you think that takes players?
I think the hardest thing is just playing against different people. That's the hardest thing. Now, hopefully we'll get more continuity, not as many people play on Friday. But we've tried to throw everything in there, JJ, just so that we have some sort of sense that we can do that. Now, we got to change some stuff up that we did the other night that we're not going to do. But, I think one thing is we got to change sides of the floor better. We got to move the ball better. Can't stay on one side of the floor. But a lot of it is that chemistry issue, playing together and playing certain guys in certain matchups. And not only matchups, but just combinations. But it's going to take a while. I think it is. I don't know if hopefully it's fast.
Coach, you showed that pressure after free throws.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like the way it looked? Did you like the way they responded?
Well, we've got a couple other packages in to do defensively with presses. We just were trying some things, try to get their legs under them. But I liked the pressure. I didn't like how we played zone defense. I think they thought it was break time and not guarding. I think zone's not. It's not taking time off of defense. I think you just got to move, and we didn't do that. So we got to continue to work. We'll work on that today for 15, 20 minutes, but we just got to be more active and communicate. But it goes along with what JJ kind of said, in the sense that when are those guys going to learn to play together, and how compatible they're going to be and comfortable they're going to be. A lot of it's communication, and a lot of it's just not playing together.
You said after the game you liked when Cullen was off the ball. Are we going to be seeing a lot more of that, more experimentation with that on Friday?
I said that he played well off the ball. I didn't say I like him off the ball. Yeah, he's going to play off the ball because Tim Jacobs is a good player, and we're probably going to play him. It's going to be one of those guys because he can't play 40 minutes. So it depends on what we get from Anthony Mathis, what we get from Dane, what we get from X, and what we get from Sam. Now, if we have lulls in offense and we can't score, then, yeah, we'll play him off the ball some.
Coach, will we see Nick?
Yeah, we'll see him Friday. He'll play Friday. I hope he plays. I mean, I just think it's a more conventional team to play him against.
Right.
They're undersized. I think they're a little bit undersized, but they play 2 forwards and 3 guards, kind of like what we do, and there's same continuity, same matchup type thing. So what most of the teams we're going to play do.
Is there any connection with Florida State? I know in the past you.
Cody knows their coach pretty good, so we just basically try to help guys out that we know.
You said that without the 5-second call now,
Mm-hmm.
the guys are going to dribble it more. And in the past, it seems like coaching has been, give it up. Don't just sit there and pound the ball, right? So are you coaching guys? Certain guys are allowed to maybe dribble a little bit more?
No.
How do you coach
I can't.
that when
I
you
can't
get
stand the
a
pound. I don't tell them about the 5-second rule, even though they know it. No, I don't let. If you watch me, and if we have practice and if they pound it more than 5 or 6 times in the front court in the half court set, and they don't pass it, I'm blowing the whistle and it's a turnover. I don't think that's basketball. It's with the new rule. I think it's become, it used to be Vance Wahlberg had the dribble drive, and that lasted for about a year, and then he's not the head coach at Pepperdine now. He's in the NBA being an assistant coach. It's one of those things where I think Cal uses a lot of dribble drive. I think dribble drives a way a lot of people are playing. I'm not a big fan of it. There's just not a lot of fluid movement. There's not a lot of ball reversals. We'll let some guys pound it more, but we try not to pound it that much in half court.
Coach, you mentioned to me in Las Vegas, you said we'll have to see the way the refs call the game
Mm-hmm.
as to what rule changes, that you'll see stand out.
Right.
Did you see anything that really you kind of went, what are we doing here?
No, I thought they did a good job. I thought it was a good job. Just the only time that I thought there was a problem when they had knocked O's mask off and said he initiated contact. I mean, how's that happen? How can you initiate contact with your mask?
But
So-
did you notice any of the rules?
No, I think they called it pretty well like the rules are. We had some moving screens where you have to be set. I think once a defender gets set on defense and you try to go and he's established position, that's a charge. Doesn't matter if he leans or whatever. If he established position, that's a charge. I thought they did a good job. They didn't let people hand check. I thought they called that part of it. I mean, they called it on us and called it on them. So I think our guys are figuring it out.
How is it for you and even the coaches in these days after a game where you have something different to talk about, more stuff like
It's
that?
good. That's a good point. It's good because it brings up new ideas and new things that we can work on or we need to work on or how to get better in those certain areas. So that's definitely helped us. And with Chris being new and Terrence being new, it's helped us that way because when you practice so long against each other, that becomes a problem because you kind of get kind of stale on what you want to go over. You keep going over the same stuff, so it gives you something else to talk about. The only other thing about the rule thing, Lee, the hardest thing is getting out of timeouts. They gave us a warning if we were late. You have to be ready to play. So if we're shooting a free throw on the other end, we have to be down there ready to play, and if we're not, that's technical. Now that's going to be a little bit difficult because, I mean, a lot of coaches make substitutions during timeouts. A lot of coaches are trying to get matchups. A lot of coaches are putting their defenses in. A lot of coaches are doing draw-ups. So you got to be pretty organized. And I'll tell you what was hard for was the managers getting used to it because they got to put those seats down and get them off and get off the floor. So that's the biggest adjustment, I think, rule-wise for us was that.
The fact that your players are the ones that have to call timeout, I mean, that just means they gotta you have to communicate.
Well,
with
you
them,
got to
they
have a pretty
communicate
loud voice, just especially like if it's a 10-second violation. Before, you could just yell timeout, and the referee's usually right there by you. Now it has to be the player, so that's a little bit different. And then the timeout deal where you can't carry one over in the second half, it really wasn't an issue for us in the first game, but it's going to be an issue. And if you don't navigate it right, it can cause problems, and you can't take a lot of timeouts early because you won't have them at the end because they've eliminated one of those.
What do you expect from these guys tomorrow, Coach?
From our team,
No, from them.
from Rogers State,
Yeah.
I have no idea.
It's more about you than it is about them.
It's always about that in exhibition season. I'm just glad that we can play in front of the fans that we have, and I'm glad our guys can go down there and get a little. But it'll be one of those things where we just got to work on it, just get better, trying to get better every day.
You said 8 or 9 guys you're expecting to play,
Yeah, I might play 10.
but if it gets like blowout city or 25, do you?
I might play everybody then.
Yeah.
I might play everybody then, but I'll try to go with the normal how we're going to play on the 13th. At least try to, and that depends on foul trouble if somebody gets hurt or, we'll try to do that.
Do you have an ideal number in your head for a rotation that you'd like to get it to, or is it as many as are effective?
17. I'll play all 17 of them, Robert.
You're up by 25 and everything.
Playing all 17. I mean, I got 3 walk-ons, and I got one. Well, how many did I have? 3 walk-ons. Tim Jacobs, 4. I got 4 walk-ons. They're not on scholarship. They pay their own way. They pay for their meals. Rewarding them, local kids, to be a part of our program, and so that's why I have 17. But if we get up 25, Bob, I'll play all of them. Try to. I was going to try to play all of them the other night, but I didn't get to it. So, but if it depends on how we play. I don't think it'll be a 25-point blowout, though. I think it'll be a close game.